Welcome to Dark Side of History channel, where the untold stories of the past come to life. So don't forget to subscribe and uncover the mysteries with us.
Warsaw Ghetto uprising. The brave people of Warsaw fought back against Nazi forces in April 1943. This was one of the most heroic resistance movements during World War II. The uprising lasted for weeks, despite overwhelming odds against the fighters. Tupac Shakur final days. The last photograph of the famous rapper was taken in Las Vegas on September 7, 1996. This image shows Tupac just hours before the tragic events that ended his life. The photo has become one of the most significant images in hip-hop history. Bunny Jurger studio portrait. A talented photographer and model created this self-portrait in her Miami studio in 1955. The image shows the artistic style and fashion of the mid-1950s perfectly. This photograph represents the golden age of American photography. Istanbul giant snowman. During a rare snowstorm in 1929, people in Istanbul built a massive 10-foot-tall snowman. Snow was very unusual in this Turkish city, making this event special. The photograph shows how communities come together during unexpected weather. Hans Langseth record beard. A Norwegian-American man held the world record for the longest beard at 17 feet and 6 inches. The measurement was officially recorded in 1927, making him famous worldwide. This photograph shows how people can achieve extraordinary things with patience. Biafran conflict standoff. Nigerian military forces faced off with Biafran fighters during the Civil War in 1968. This photograph captures a tense moment during one of Africa's most tragic conflicts. The image shows the human cost of war and division. Jackson, Mississippi demonstration. An African-American man watches as hostile groups demonstrate in July 1950. This photograph captures the tension during the early civil rights movement. The image shows the courage needed to stand up for equality and justice. Sophia Loren at Cannes. The Italian actress attended the famous Cannes Film Festival in France during April and May 1955. This photograph shows the glamour and elegance of classic Hollywood stars. The image represents the golden age of international cinema. Beatles Sydney fan moment. A desperate fan threw their child toward the stage to get Paul McCartney's attention in June 1964. This photograph shows how crazy Beatlemania became around the world. The image captures the extreme devotion fans had for the famous band. Armenian women warriors. These brave women posed with rifles in the Ottoman Empire's Van region in 1895. The photograph shows how women fought to protect their communities during difficult times. This image represents courage and determination in the face of danger. Al Capone Christmas photo. The famous gangster was photographed with his wife May in Miami during Christmas 1946. This was one of the last pictures taken of the notorious crime boss. The image shows a different side of one of America's most wanted criminals. Three soldiers meeting. German, Soviet, and Finnish soldiers met at the Finnish border in 1941 to discuss photography. This unusual photograph shows how even enemies could find common ground during war. The image represents rare moments of humanity during conflict. Sarajevo Jewish protection. A Muslim woman covered her Jewish neighbor's yellow star with her veil in 1941. This brave act of kindness happened during Nazi occupation of Sarajevo. The photograph shows how ordinary people risked their lives to help others. Wall Street Depression sign. A man held a sign outside the Bankers Trust Company in New York during 1932. This photograph captures the desperation of the Great Depression era perfectly. The image shows how economic crisis affected ordinary American families. Astrakex Atlanta Shield of Love. A black woman shielded a man from hate signs during Atlanta protest in 1996. This powerful photograph shows courage in the face of racism and hatred. The image represents how love and protection can overcome evil and division. Astrakex Cascade Mountains Logging. Loggers used horses to drag massive fir trees in Washington's Cascade Mountains. This photograph shows how dangerous and difficult logging work was in early America. The image captures the hard work that built the nation. Astrakex Finnish Officer and Lenin. A Finnish officer offered cigarettes to a Lenin statue in Petrozavodsk on November 30, 1941. This unusual photograph shows how soldiers found ways to cope during war. The image represents the irony and absurdity of conflict. Astrakex Child Labor Documentary. Children worked in dangerous and hazardous conditions during 1910 in American factories. This photograph helped expose the terrible treatment of young workers. The image led to important changes in child protection laws. Astrakex's first news photograph ever. The very first news photograph showed an arrest on Rue de Rivoli in Paris during 1847. This historic image changed how people received information about current events. The photograph marked the beginning of modern photojournalism. Astrakex Iranian Airways Celebration. An airline flight attendant celebrated her birthday at Tehran Airport in 1971 before the revolution. This photograph shows how different Iran was during the Shah's rule. The image captures a more liberal time in Iranian history. First aerial refueling test. Smith and Richter performed the first aerial refueling over San Diego on June 27, 1923. This dangerous experiment changed military aviation forever after this successful test. The photograph shows the beginning of modern Air Force capabilities. Stockholm City Hall construction. Bricklayers worked on Stockholm's famous City Hall on July 4, 1916, during construction. This photograph shows the skilled craftsmanship that went into building the iconic structure. The image captures how beautiful architecture requires patience and dedication. Meuse-Argonne campaign. U.S. Army troops fought in northeastern France during September 26, 1918 offensive. This photograph shows American soldiers during one of World War I's biggest battles. The image represents American sacrifice during the Great War. World War I trench warfare. Soldiers gathered near Ypres in Belgium during September 1914 in the early war. This photograph shows the beginning of terrible trench warfare conditions. The image captures how quickly warfare changed during the first modern conflict. Henry Ford plant car. Ford created an experimental car made from plant-based materials in Dearborn, Michigan during 1941. This photograph shows how car makers tried to find new materials. The image represents early attempts at sustainable automobile manufacturing. Snowflake the albino gorilla. Veterinarians examined the rare albino gorilla at Barcelona Zoo in March 1967. This photograph shows the only known albino gorilla ever discovered in the wild. The image captures one of nature's most unusual and beautiful creatures. Einstein Berlin portrait. The famous scientist posed with his wife Elsa in a Berlin studio during 1930. This photograph shows Einstein during his most productive scientific period in Germany. The image captures the man who changed our understanding of the universe.